let's play with a little divine psychology. First, there's a riddle. If we have a compass and we do not know in which direction we are meant to be going, then of what use is the compass? There are several stories. The first story is about a man whose elderly, widowed, rich mother died without leaving a will or telling him where his inheritance was to be found. So after he had buried her, he went through the house, looking in every nook and cranny to see if he could find the wealth. He went through the drawers and the cupboards, looked under the floorboards even. He went through the bookshelf, but to no avail. He even went out into the garden and dug 3 feet down, but nothing was found. So he thought his only recourse was to seek the aid of one who was called an old witch. So he went to her house, told her the situation, and she said, yes, I can help you with that. But she said, the cost will be half of your inheritance. So the man thought, well, half of an inheritance is better than none at all. So he agreed. But then the witch told him to leave because she wasn't about to go about her business while he was there. So after he left, the old witch took a knife and she said a few incantations over it, and then she put it under her pillow. And that night she had a dream. She dreamt that a demon came to her with a knife in his heart. And the demon begged her to remove the knife, but she refused, saying that she would only remove the knife when the old woman told where the wealth was hidden. And then the dream ended. But in the morning, the old witch put her hand under the pillow and the knife was gone. But the very next night, she had a dream where the demon came to her with the knife in his heart, but this time in the company of a young demon who was his son. And the son begged the old woman to remove the knife from his father's heart, but she refused, saying she would only do so when the old woman revealed where the inheritance was to be found. And again in the morning, when she felt under her pillow, the knife was still gone. On the third night, she had a dream again. There was the demon, looking very pale and very weak and unable to speak, but still with the knife in his heart, in the company of the young demon and the old woman. Now, again, the young demon begged on behalf of his father, please remove the knife from my father's heart, not until the old woman reveals. And then the young demon turned to the old woman and said, please, won't you tell where the inheritance is to be found? She said, if I had wanted my son to know where it was, I would have told him. But then the young demon begged on his father's behalf, saying, "Look, my father is pale and wan, he can't even speak," begging the old woman to reveal. She said, "Well, I'll tell you this much. It's in a box." And then the dream ended. In the morning, the old witch felt under the pillow, and there was the knife. So she immediately took herself off to the house of the man and related to him what had happened, stating that it was in a box. Well, the man said, "I've been through every box in the house. There's no treasure to be found." Well, the old witch said, "This is the information that has been given. I'll leave you to it, but remember, half of what you find is mine." So off the witch went, and the man went through all the boxes again and found that one of the boxes had a false bottom, and in it was to be found all the wealth. But of course, the man thought to himself, "Well, now I've got the wealth, I don't want to share it with this old witch." So he left town. And a couple of days later, the old witch came to his house and found that he'd beaten the coop and gone, which he wasn't a bit worried, because she went back to her house and took her knife and put it under her pillow. So the second story is about that young couple, very, very devoted to one another, vowing between each other that in life or death they would be faithful to each the other. So, as fate would have it, the wife contracted a fatal illness and died. And of course, the husband mourned her, missing her, remembering his vow. But the days passed, and as it happened, every day he would go down to the bakery to buy his loaf of bread for his food. And it happened that the daughter of the baker who worked in the shop was a very comely, buxom young woman. So we know how these things go. After a little while, of course, the widower found he fancied the woman, and he started to flirt with the maiden behind the counter. And then it happened. "I heard you. I saw the way you looked at her in the baker's shop today. I heard what you said to her. I know what's going on." And so every day after that, he was bedeviled. Every day he went to the baker's shop, and of course it grew between them as these things go. And he did get into banter with the maiden, and their relationship got closer and closer, but so too did the voice. "I saw you, I heard what you said to her today." And so the bedevilment went on and on until he was desperate. He didn't know what he was going to do, because nature and so on. Get the picture? So then he decided his only recourse was to go to a very wise old man who he had heard of in town, to put his problem before him. So this is exactly what he did. He went to visit the old wise man and told him what was going on. And the old man said, yes, we can deal with that. And so he gave him something to do. And so the young man went back and followed the old man's instructions, and sure enough, the voice stopped, the bedevilment ceased, never to return again. So, question is, what did the old wise man, what was the advice that the old wise man gave to the young widower? What did he have to do? So it comes back, of course, with the reminder that every character in every story is an aspect of our psyche. And to the question that's been asked before, what is this staff that we hold? Where do we turn? What is the direction in which we go? So that, well, you know what's being said here. What is it? What did the old wise man say to the young widower? What was the advice? Who's the boss here? What's the bottom line?
Is the voice his mind or?
Yes? Look to the first story and its symbols. What does the old witch represent? The knife, the demon. Dive deep into the stories, into the crucible that we have that gives us an understanding of all the stories. Then we learn where we go. In the middle of the night when we wake up and our cares and worries come, or some demon comes to bedevil us. To get our answers, our guidance. What is this Mandela, this crucible that's being spoken about? The staff that we hold up, that repels the onslaughts, in whatever form they might take, the fears, the demons. What is it? What advice did that old man give to the widower?
Cut the